Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Our first story is more of a group revenge. The sad truth of it all is that the manager is money hungry and doesn't particularly care about what happens with the workers. Well, he got his dose of karma. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Manager causes mass quitting spree. So for context, I work at a grocery store as a cashier supervisor, and of course everything there is chaotic and stressful. My manager decided that she was going to try and make everything run smoother and fire 3 of our best cashiers. My manager isn't a huge fan of younger people, and these 3 happen to be between the ages of 16 and 18. This was a huge blow for our department. They worked harder than the majority of the cashiers we have, and having them fired meant the amount of people we ring through per hour went down by a lot. A lot of us weren't happy with what happened. We were all very close and worked very well together, so having them fired broke a lot of routines we had, so we devised a plan. Cue the revenge. The day the cashiers got fired, some of us that remained, 5 total, got together and decided that a bunch of us would all quit at once. No one likes working there. There's a lot of people who are mistreated, including me. We decided that 4 would go in, one after the other, and hand in their resignation. All 4 stated that they would work 1 more shift and would not be back after that. I decided that I would stay and continue to work, just because I couldn't find a new job that paid as good as my current one, and keep everyone updated on what was happening after they quit. Result: my manager took a sick day because she got so stressed with everyone quitting. She had to redo the entire schedule for the following week to cover the shifts of those who left. We now don't have enough cashiers to work during the week. We're down to 9 total and need 10 for a single day. Employees from other departments have had to cover some of the shifts for the people who left, putting them behind in their own work. A mass hiring spree is currently underway, which makes the company look really bad due to the turnover. Don't mess with a tight-knit group of experienced workers. It'll come back to bite you. Edit. I know it seems bad that the 4 quit and I stayed, but you need to understand they're still in high school. They just had the job to make some extra spending money. I, on the other hand, am a university student and I need a job to pay for bills and school. That's awesome. You were an amazing group of people. And our second story. Treat a vet like crap. Enjoy missing lunch. This was almost 2 decades ago. I was a young airman. I will try to put this in non-military lingo. I worked next to the office that dealt with ID card issues. When they would get overloaded, I would sometimes slip over to help them. One day I go over to see if I can help. I saw on the sign-in sheet they'd been consistently skipping one particular name. There could have been a perfectly good reason why, so I asked. The general consensus was they didn't have time to deal with an old drunk. I looked over at the guy. Now this guy had red eyes, red nose, was shaking like a leaf, and was quietly muttering to himself in confusion. He was easily well into his 70s and looked like he had slept in his clothes for days. I approached the man. I noticed straight off he didn't smell of alcohol. I took him back to my cubicle because the waiting room was so loud I couldn't hear him. Turns out his wife had died the previous night. He'd spent the last week in a hospital by her side. He knew he had to turn in her ID card and deal with the military paperwork involved. He was just lost. One of the ID card airmen came in to tell me in front of this veteran that I had to come help them and to stop wasting my time with this guy. The airman's main concern being the line was backing up and it was almost lunchtime. The veteran actually stood up and started apologizing to this POS airman. I sat the veteran back down. I explained thoroughly he was my top priority. I told the airman I was already handling one of his customers. I then called the casualty office to let them know to get the paperwork together, told them not to rush. The airman was mad but could do nothing, so went back to his ever-growing line of customers. In the meantime, I let the veteran do what veterans do best, tell me old stories. A good hour later, the casualty office came by to assist and to bring him to their office. The veteran hugged me quietly as I got up to go to lunch. It made my day as I sailed through the ID section's packed waiting room, knowing they wouldn't be getting lunch that day. And our last story. Aspiring CEO wants people to work for her for free. Karen, an aspiring CEO of a startup, was a roommate in a shared house I lived in during my internship at a tech company. Her fear is that someone would steal her startup idea, so the first time we met, she asked whether I worked at her competitors. She then introduced me to Frank, whom she called her friend, and she said was always willing to drive her around for shopping. Later I realized that's her definition of friends, people whom she could use. Frank is also a freelance graphic designer whom Karen hired to design her pitch deck. As months passed by, Frank and I got closer as we have similar hobbies, and soon he confided in me that Karen hasn't paid him for the hours he did her last deck. Karen has been telling everyone in the house that she's broke, so Frank felt bad for asking for his payment, but Frank needed the money too. I merely cheered him up and said nothing other than, let's hope she'll get her funding soon with the new deck. Then Karen asked Frank to change some numbers in the slides because she said investors would like to see the updated numbers, and Frank refused to do so until Karen pays him for the last job, or at least signed a written agreement that she would pay in installments by a deadline. In the meantime, seeing that Frank and I were spending a lot of time together, which means she lost her driver, Karen was talking behind my back with the other housemates, accusing me of being a bad and evil roommate, cheating on my partner with Frank. Once after asking when my internship would end, she suddenly just told me to leave my partner and stay with Frank. I just smiled and said it's none of her business. Frank and I were just friends. I would leave the area once my internship ended, back to my partner of 7 years, and Frank knew that for a fact. I guess she also thought that I convinced Frank to never help her again with her deck. I did no such thing. Frank is an adult and could make his own decision on what to do with his life. So basically, Karen was trying to kick me out of the house as she has done once to another roommate, and proud of it. However, she didn't get any support from the others because everyone else was also fed up with her. So Karen decided to move out because she felt the house's environment is toxic. I was relaxing on my bed while she was packing her stuff. Then, Karen, hey, I'm moving out. I hope you treat Frank well. Everyone was sad that I'm losing a good friend like him. Me, sure, he's a friend. I won't use my friends. Karen, well, you made him lose his job and income. She meant designing her deck. Investors are waiting for the new deck. Your personal life is ruining my startup. Me, hey, don't drag me into your problem with him. I have nothing to do with it. If you have a problem with him, talk to him. Don't talk to me. Karen, of course, it has everything to do with you. He's in love with you. Can't you see it? Me, rolling my eyes. What happened between me and Frank is none of Karen's business. It shouldn't interfere with her professional relationship with Frank either. The problem is you haven't paid him. Solve that issue professionally. Don't make it personal. Karen, he refused to help with my deck because of you. I told my friends about it. They were livid. Me, see, that's exactly your problem. Instead of talking to him directly, you talk to other people about it. Bullseye. After that, she was spouting things that don't make any sense. She said, I don't know anything about how startup works. Her mom is sick and could lose that money she put into her daughter's startup. Whose fault is that? She's now broke and trying so hard to get funding for her startup, so she desperately needs her new deck. I put on my headphones, trying to sleep. Wasn't really interested in hearing her whine about her life. I needed to get up early for work the next day, while she was usually still on the bed, swiping her phone, even when I was ready to leave for work. The perks of being a startup founder. She then started sending Frank threatening emails demanding Frank to send her the raw files of the design ASAP and to sign an NDA because she's afraid people will steal her idea and research data. Frank refused because he didn't want that. She could trick another designer to do it for her for free. I wanted to free Frank of Karen's hateful emails and to help Karen as well, so I sent her a message through LinkedIn. Not our first exchange. She once asked me where I was one night. Not sleeping at the house. I was at my company outing. I have screenshots of the conversation, so this is accurate. Me. Hi, Karen. Instead of wasting your time harassing someone you can't afford to pay to work for you, you could change the deck yourself. Continued explaining how to convert PDF to other editable formats. Karen, this is your fault. You don't understand startups. Get your personal life out of my company. If you're unable to get yourself out, third parties will. Karen, you have until midnight to get yourself out of my company so it can proceed properly. If you contact me again, I'm calling the police for harassment and looking into a restraining order. Karen, calling police. Me, I agree, I have no idea how a startup works. But if I were a startup founder, I would try to persuade people to work for me with my passion for my ideas, not with aggression, threats, and by meddling into their private life. You should really separate business from personal matters. I was writing my long reply, so I didn't read her last message about restraining order and calling police when I hit send. My original intention was to help Frank by helping Karen, but looking back now, I was at fault here, giving unsolicited advice layered with some judgments and critics. I'm not proud of what I did, but at least I learned my lesson not to repeat the same mistake. After that, I stopped sending messages. It's hopeless, I thought, as she wanted, but... Karen, get your personal life the F out of my company. Karen, you have until midnight to make things right. Investors are waiting for a fixed deck. Karen, if your personal life is in my company, have Frank send an editable version to this guy to fix. He's in tech. Here's his contact information for you. Putting a link to my boyfriend's website. Karen, I really am contacting police if you reach out to me again. Karen, please stop. Karen, I asked you to stop. Karen, lurking on my LinkedIn needs to stop. At that point, I felt like I was the one being harassed since I said absolutely nothing and she kept messaging me. What creeps me out is that she stalked me online, found out who my partner is, possibly from Facebook, then Googled his name to get to his website. My partner is a colleague. We both have PhDs in computer science, so sure, both of us know how to edit presentation slides as we make our lectures, but I was a bit offended when she said simply, he's in tech, and expected him to fix her slides. Anyway, she was proven to be delusional, so I blocked her on LinkedIn and Facebook. I guess she didn't know this feature exists. Otherwise, she would simply do that when she desperately wanted me to stop contacting her. I wonder how her startup's doing now. I wonder how her call to the police went. Hello, police. I want you to arrest X because they talked to my slave labor, and now my slave doesn't want to be my slave. He actually wants me to pay him. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.